What is going on? What is going on? YouTube, Twitter, man. Winter meetings day three. Day three, and we've got a lot of news to talk about. A lot of news to talk about. We got the Diaz, we got the Swarber, Gregory Soto just signed. There's a whole bunch of things that is happening right now, and maybe more to come. Who knows? Is it more to come for the Mets? I don't know, but we'll see, man. But definitely leave a like, comment, subscribe, guys. You know, this is Randy Talks Mets. This is where you get your latest Mets media, everything to know about the New York Mets on this channel. And today I am joined by my friend Dan and also my partner in crime, David from Top Bunk Sports. How are we feeling, Dan? Let's start with you. How are you feeling right now with the New York Mets? How are you feeling with David Stearns and the New York Mets and how this team is going?
You know, Randy, I feel sick, honestly. I didn't think this day would happen. I feared Diaz might leave to go to the Dodgers. I was hoping we'd match or not just match, I would hope we'd be able to exceed any offer he had received, but it didn't happen. Here we are, and now Devin Williams is our closer.
Do you don't think that they're gonna get like Robert Suarez? You don't think that they're gonna get a Pete Fairbanks, somebody like that, or do you really?
I think they will. I just don't know if either of those guys is a good replacement. And
okay.
Like we talked about Fairbanks, he's got a medical condition. Can he pitch on the East Coast in cold weather? And then Suarez is 35 years old, and
he's going to be 35 in March.
Yeah, like I'm skeptical if he can be an adequate closer. He's only done it for just last season. This to me feels like we're just gonna be going through internal options. I mean, I don't know where else besides Williams is an adequate role for I could see Suarez, but he's also probably got a lot of teams that probably could suit. He could probably close elsewhere in say Toronto. And I don't even know if there are many other good closers left. I could see it, but I also feel like this to me seems like a Stern strategy where he's always built bullpens on the cheap, and he really hasn't spent much on relief pitching, even closers. And he did with even Devin Williams is kind of a modest signing.
I feel you there. I feel you there, Dan. I see exactly what you're saying. I understand exactly what you're saying. This is a tough blow for Met fans. This is really a day that I didn't think it was going to happen. I did not think that we were going to lose Diaz. I didn't think that there was any shot from the beginning. But to be honest, he opted out of a contract that he was already getting paid the most money already, you know, the best reliever on the market, the most money on the market from a reliever standpoint. So the fact that apparently the Mets made an offer, you know, $66 million 3-year deal with some deferrals, it to me, it just didn't seem like he wanted to come back to the Mets. I just didn't think he wanted to come back to the Mets. And it really sucks. It really sucks because this is a guy that felt like he was the heart of the Mets. And now I don't know where they go from here. But I want to get your honest reaction, Top, my partner in crime. How are you feeling about all of this stuff?
Well, to be honest with you, a little part of me is kind of hurts. Again, this is a closer that, you know, was one of the best closers in his last year as a Seattle Mariner. And then obviously Brody Van Wagen trades from him with Robinson Cano. We all remember that. His first year as a Met in 2019 wasn't great, but then he ends up kind of, rekindling himself the next I would say 2 years if you if you don't count the COVID year. But 2022 was a very special season for him. He got the fan base back on his side. It was like I said, historic season for him. And then obviously 2023, we know how that went. 2024, he tried to find his stride a little bit, and then 2025, he found himself back as the old Edwin Diaz. In a way, excuse me. When it came down to him opting out, there was no shocker. I mean, Randy, you and me, and other Met fans that we talked to on Twitter on Queens Baseball, shout out to Queens Baseball. We've all said that he was going to opt out. The last thing that I ever thought in my mind when he opted out was he was going to go to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I thought he was coming back. I was one of the guys, and I stood front and center. Everybody else was saying that what he was asking for was too much, that the Mets shouldn't pivot that way, that whatever money he's asking for, that the Mets should use that money to allocate to other pitchers in the bullpen. I understand that. But Edwin Diaz is considered, in my opinion, one of the best closers in baseball right now. Edwin Diaz has been nothing but gracious and nothing but positive, and has done everything that he could. Yes, he's had his flaws as a closer with the New York Mets, but I felt that the Mets should have given him exactly what he wanted. He was asking for a 5-year, $102 million deal. I thought that was fair. I thought nobody else statistically was touching him. I think the closest was probably Suarez and then Devin Williams. But I guess that wasn't the case. And then as more stuff was coming out, he wasn't fond with the Mets about giving up Jeremy Hefner. Apparently, according to Jeff Passan, once he saw that the Devin Williams signing happened, he never received a call in terms of trying to in terms of him trying to come back. Like,
what do you think about that? I thought that was crazy, right? Like, wow.
I mean, listen, he took it upon himself to not go back to the Mets and thought that, hey, they got Devin Williams, I guess they don't need me. That's how I took it. And it seemed like he didn't want to be here. It seemed like after they made their moves, I guess he felt that they needed to confirm with him, or they needed his opinion on if they needed Hefner or not. And I think he decided, hey, listen, I guess, I'm not that important enough to where and also his brother played a factor in it, right? His brother was with the Dodgers the year prior. So his brother was kind of giving him information in terms of how the Dodgers run their ball club and how well they do it. And, that also played a factor into him probably going in there and saying, yo, if that's how they run their ball club and they could be trusted, maybe that's where I want to be. So at the end of the day, it's like you said, it seemed like he didn't want to be here. It does, no matter how you look at it, no matter if you're on the Stern side or you're on the DS side, it does look bad for the Mets, because that is another big time pitcher, another big time player that we have dropped within our circle. The next one to come above right now, as with reports coming out, is Pete Alonso. So again, it doesn't look good. All I'll say is this, and Randy, you have heard me say it multiple times today, they better pray to everything on God that Devin Williams pans out the way that they want it, because I promise you, the way Met fans are, and we know how we get, we're very opinionated. We puff out our chest. If we don't like something, we'll say it. If Devin Williams is worse than what he was as a Yankee, his first year as a New York Met, they will kill him, and it's not even this kid's fault. That's why I feel bad for him. And he's in a situation right now where if he does not succeed his first year, he's going to get the short end of the stick, and it's not even his fault. So I pray that everything works out for Devin Williams. But yes, that's my whole thing on the whole Diaz situation.
Yeah. Dan, what do you think about Devin Williams and Diaz, and the fact that Diaz didn't know about Devin Williams coming to the Mets? How do you feel about that? I thought that was a little weird, but it is what it is. How do you feel?
You mean Devin Williams didn't know? You mean Diaz didn't know about Devin Williams coming to the Mets?
Yeah, Diaz didn't know about Devin Williams coming to the Mets.
Yeah, that's a little bit surprising. But I feel like Diaz could have returned to the Mets if Stearns is more aggressive. That's just where I'm coming from. Is so far I've seen Stearns just be he's just not willing to go a certain length with certain guys. It feels like every pitcher outside of Yamamoto, he hasn't been willing to go more than 3 years. And
Yeah,
I think Diaz would have re-signed if maybe they had upped it to a fourth, probably a fifth year. Maybe it would have been too much to bring him back for a fifth, but I mean, listen, 4 years, I don't think would have been asking too much. And I think maybe he would have gone back to the Dodgers, because clearly he didn't go back to the Mets to ask them to match. But I'm just,
I mean, did you find that surprising?
I found that surprising. Yeah. I thought Diaz wanted to come back to the Mets, but I don't think either side agreed to the length. And it just feels like Stearns just has a very stubborn way of viewing guys on the open market, where he's got a price point, and clearly he wasn't willing to go beyond 3 years for Diaz, and the money was equal. So why would Diaz stay if the money's equal, where he can go to a team that's already won back-to-back championships? Basically ever since Cohen took over, we've had to overpay to keep everybody or sign everybody. It's never been these guys are going to take less to pitch for the Mets, or if the money's equal. Like even last year with Soto, we had to blow the Yankees out of the water to sign him. It just with every one of these guys, there comes to be a certain price point. And I don't know if you made that point, Randy or David, but a lot of closers, I don't think they're not worth as much as probably what he was looking for. But it's going to be hard to pivot from this. It really is.
No, it is. It definitely is. Now I want to get into, obviously the Mets were interested in Kyle Schwarber, and there was a lot of interest in Schwarber. We've heard the Mets interested in Schwarber. New York Post posted it. So many people posted it. The Mets are interested in Schwarber. And then we hear today that the Phillies have re-signed Schwarber for 5 years, $150. Basically the kind of deal that I thought Pete Alonso would get, most likely. Now, I find that very interesting. Top, I want to go to you here. What do you think about that Schwarber deal? And do you think that it affects Pete's market? And who has the leverage now between the Mets and Pete Alonso?
I think Pete does. Right now, Pete has a couple suitors in his way. I mean, we talk about the Baltimore Orioles, we talk about the Boston Red Sox. I think when it comes down to David Stearns, it's been reported. Don't know if it's 100% true, but we saw a report there a couple hours ago that the Mets are hesitant on going past the 3 years for Pete. And if you're looking at a Boston Red Sox who, kind of need a first baseman in a way, you look at the Orioles who are desperately looking for a first baseman and looking to at least, I would say succeed on a big time signing. It seems like they would probably go to the lengths of giving Alonso whatever he wants, compared to the Mets, where they're kind of hesitant on giving a long-term deal to a guy that I would say another guy that has proved it while he's been a New York Met. Now, I understand he is a liability defensively, but I think his offense outweighs his defense liabilities, to where, number one, not a lot of ground balls are hit to his side. Number two, you have a second baseman in Marcus Semien who covers a lot of second base and is a better defender at second than the choices that we've had. So I think that also plays a factor to where you really don't have to worry about his defense as much. Like I said, he's done enough offensively to where I don't think his defense is that big of an issue for the team, to where I think the Mets should look at this and be like, listen, we know we have a limit, whether we agree with it or not, but this kid has done everything that the organization has asked of him. He's a fan favorite. He's delivered every time he's come up to the plate. Yes, he strikes out a ton at certain times, and yes, he's a liability defensively, but his consistency offensively outweighs that. So I would say he deserves what he's asking for as well. It's just that depending on if the Mets want to, again, put their foot on the gas and go ahead and do it. But that's another guy that, like, right, if David Stearns has a conversation with him and says, listen, you 3-year deal, you take it or leave it. I see him going to Boston. So yeah.
No, wow. I mean, going to Boston, the fact that that's really a thing now is going to be crazy, because we know that the Boston Red Sox, they do need a first baseman. Tristan Casas, you don't know what's going to happen with the injury. Is he going to come back fine? So it makes sense that the Boston Red Sox go after Pete Alonso. But the thing about the Boston Red Sox is they've also been interested in Alex Bregman. They were interested in Kyle Schwarber. And now they're interested in Bo Bichette. Now, I find that very interesting, because there's multiple guys that they want. But I've heard that they want either one guy or maybe two guys. But I just don't. I don't know if Pete Alonso's like their primary target. And I don't know if I believe that. And if he is, then okay. But you got guys like Alex Bregman. You got guys like Bo Bichette. Kyle Schwarber's off the board now. But those bats, I think Boston would like a Bichette here. They would like a Bregman who already played there, had a pretty good season, was injured, but had a pretty good season. So when it comes to the Pete Alonso with Boston, it is a fit, because his wife played. I mean, not his wife played. His wife lives in Boston, so it makes sense. But the 3-year deal, is Boston going to be willing to go a 4-year deal, maybe 5-year deal for Pete Alonso? And the Mets don't want to do that, and that's like the concerning part with this GM that we have, or president of baseball operations, David Stearns. Like, confidence level, Dan, how are you feeling in his ability to bring back a free agent the caliber of Pete Alonso? And how do you feel about that? Apparently, we're kind of out on Valdez. We're out on Amai. Like, those are a lot of questions there. But how do you feel about the Pete Alonso thing? Yeah, let's start there.
Well, Randy, as I said with Diaz, the reason I think Alonso's leaving is the way he handled the Diaz negotiations. He's not willing to go a certain point, and if the reports are true that he's only willing to keep Alonso, Stearns is, to basically a 3-year deal with a club option, Alonso's going to leave. Okay, some team, even if it's not the Red Sox, some team's going to match that, or some team's going to exceed that. Like, he's not tied to a qualifying offer anymore, and he's coming off a tremendous season where someone, even if he's not going to, because you're right, Schwarber's deal is going to affect Alonso's. It impacts it, because now Alonso he's 2 years younger. He plays a defensive position. And now if Schwarber gets 5 years, Alonso's probably thinking he can get more. And I mean, I don't think he'll get more than 5, but he could very well get 5 with a higher AAV. And I think somebody's going to pay for it, even if it's not Boston. I still think it is going to be the Red Sox. They seem like a good fit. I mean, I don't know if the Orioles are going to spend that much money, but I still think
that's another team that's been apparently interested in Pete Alonso.
Well, they're setting up to meet with him. Yeah.
I mean, I think Pete Alonso really doesn't have that big of a market yet. But the fact that he flew or whatever, he's now.
Well, he lives in Florida, so he's meeting with these teams. Yeah,
he's meeting with these teams today, and the Mets said there's no need to meet with Pete Alonso personally, because they already know kind of where they stand. They've been in touch. They're going to be in touch, but they don't need to meet personally. Damn, I mean, what do you think about that, though? The fact that they don't want to need to meet personally.
Yeah, well,
with Pete Alonso.
that's fine, Randy. That doesn't really affect, in my opinion, anything, because they know each other already. I don't see any reason that they should meet. As I said, I just think Stearns is not a big fan of Alonso. If he was going to re-sign, it would be as a DH, and it's obvious that Alonso wants to play in the field, and I don't think he's going to commit long term the way he just refused to commit long term to Diaz, and it hurts your ability to, be successful in free agency if you're not willing to go long term. I mean, I get it with pitchers, but I don't understand it when somebody who's been healthy and durable his whole career, and obviously he's a fan favorite and all, but he's been one of the more clutch Mets, and it just feels like Stearns is not willing to spend the long-term number of years to keep these guys. And if it's true, it feels like he's only going to go for 3. And if that's the case, I think somebody is going to offer him more. Yeah. And that's why I just feel like he's going to be gone. And not for nothing, I feel like he's also trying to remake the way this core was constructed. Let's be honest, for the last 5 years, it's been a failing, core of the team between Nimmo and McNeil and Lindor and Alonso. I mean, they really haven't had much success, or at least consistent success. And it just feels like Stearns, he probably wanted to remake this team when he took over in 24 or after 24, but he didn't expect the season to be as good as 24 was. And he decided to run it back. And since it went so wrong last year, I feel like now he's going to try to just break up not the entire core, but most of it. Yeah, and I feel like that's where this thing feels like where it's headed, is that it's going to be another core piece of the Mets that's going to end up going elsewhere. And
wow. Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna lose. We're losing Diaz.
Yeah,
we might lose Pete Alonso, and I mean, who the hell are we gonna get for pitching?
I mean, if are we gonna get? I mean, I don't know, Michael King, Freddie Peralta. I mean, I'm not that enthused with these. Sign it with the I think Peralta will probably be a trade, and then it sounds like Michael King is not going to want anything long term, so he sounds like a Stearns fit. I'm with you, Randy. I would have tried to go after Framber Valdez. Obviously, he wants a long term deal, and Stearns, as we've just discussed, doesn't do that. And
Framber Valdez, I get someone like fact that you don't want to give him a 6-year deal. If that's the case, if he's looking for a 6-year or 5-year deal, I get why you wouldn't give Framber Valdez that type of deal, because that's you're paying him till he's like 37. That's very interesting, and that's tough, because you don't know what could happen to the guy. But I think he's an awesome pitcher. In the second half, he did struggle. And also against really good teams, they were hitting him hard. So I like Framber, and I would like a Framber here, but I get why you wouldn't go the 6-year, 7-year deal for Framber Valdez or whatever. When I first heard about his market, I thought he was going to sign like a 3-year deal or maybe a 4-year deal. But if he's looking for a 6-year deal or something like that, which we kind of we don't really know what he's looking for. So we're kind of just speculating when it comes to the years. But I've heard he does want a long-term deal. But I don't know how long of a deal there. I mean, when it comes to pitching, Top, how do you feel about where we're going and the vision and overall? Do you see us making a trade? Do you see us signing a guy? It's such a tough thing to ask, but I mean, how do you feel like honestly as a fan?
I mean, as the rotation stands right now, I don't feel great. However, you gotta go in with the notion that they do try to get at least one frontline starter. I know everybody keeps saying two. My thing is, I don't see them trading Kodai Senga because I think he still sees something value in Kodai Senga as a fourth or fifth. I think he still sees a potential in David Peterson unless they go out there and really say, listen, we could get a better lefty. Which obviously would have been Framber, but now with the report coming out that they're not interested in Framber no more, I think David Peterson stays. Unless what you're gonna do is you're gonna take either one and you're gonna ship them to Milwaukee with probably, I would say, maybe a Brandon Sproul or a Jet Williams. I don't want to give up Sproul, but you're gonna have to give up to get. I would say the best fit for them right now, if Minnesota's saying no to Joe Ryan, would have to be a Freddie Peralta, and that he would at least shake up your rotation and make it just a little bit better to where the rest of you guys could fall and play. I just think, like I said, they need a frontline starter, and if they don't, to where Nolan McLean has to be your number one, I think we are in big trouble.
I agree. I think if Nolan McLean is your number one to start the season for 2026, we are in big trouble because it's not like Brandon Sproul made these strides like, oh, we can definitely put him as a number two. Oh, we can definitely put him as a number three. Like, he showed some promise, but then he struggled. But I do like Sproul. I think Sproul is going to be good. But it's not like you can depend on him. It's not like he's like a Dylan Cease. He's not like he's a Michael King, a Zach Gallen. This is a guy that you can depend on because you don't know what you're going to get out of him. He's a rookie. And that's the big part. That's the big part about this whole thing. We've heard that Stearns wants to, build this farm system and give these young kids a chance. And I just feel like that Marcus Semien trade, it maybe Stearns doesn't see a future for Jet Williams as a Met, because I felt like that kind of blocks him in a way. And I'm a little concerned when it comes to the future of Jet Williams as a Met. And maybe there is no future with him as a Met. I don't know. But that Marcus Semien trade, it was weird because you want to build your farm system. You want to go with these young kids and give them a shot. You said you want to give Carson Bench a shot and these young outfielders. I mean, I don't know who these young outfielders are. Is it Carson Bench? Is it a Jet Williams? Are you putting Jet Williams at left field? I don't know what Stearns wants to do. And that is I guess that's one of the most interesting things to watch when it comes to 2026. What happens with Jet Williams, your top prospect that's like what, top 30, something like that? Like, so it just that's going to be very interesting. But how are you going to get pitching here? Is it going to be by trade? Are you going to get a Freddie Peralta? Are you going to get a Joe Ryan? Maybe Joe Ryan becomes available. I still think that Joe Ryan could be available. If Tarek Skubal's available, and I think Joe Ryan is available. They literally talked about Skubal in the beginning. Remember the beginning of the GM meetings? They were like, oh, a Skubal is not going to be available in trade. And then we're hearing, okay, we're hearing now in the winter meetings and a couple of days earlier that he is available. Skubal is available. They are listening to offers. So I'm not reading with the Joe Ryan that he's just not going to be available. And I just don't see it. I mean, I don't know, Dan, if you think one of those guys is available, Joe Ryan. I don't know if you think that they're playing kind of possum a little bit. I think that they are. But like pitching, how are we going to get pitching here?
Well, Randy, I think the Twins are posturing. I find it very hard to believe that they're going to keep Joe Ryan. They have a team that's just pretty much trying to rebuild and tear it down. Yeah, I think they're just trying to gain leverage, and I would certainly want to trade for Joe Ryan, but if their asking price is Jonah Tong, I wouldn't do it. I don't think Skubal is getting traded. Tigers are in a different situation where I think they're also posturing because they probably know deep down that they're not going to be able to re-sign him, but I feel like they also want to take one last shot with him. And
so who the hell are we gonna get then?
as I said, I think we're gonna get Freddie Peralta.
Okay.
Freddie Peralta. And then all signs seem to point to Michael King, who I don't love.
Yeah. And there was something recently, there was a report that the Mets are interested in Trevor McGill.
Yeah,
the brother of Tyler McGill. What do you think about a Freddie Peralta and Trevor McGill trade? Because that's gonna have to be a trade. I mean, how are we gonna get them here other than a trade? It has to be a trade. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I would be on board. I just think it'd be giving up. I mean, you mentioned Jet Williams. I'm sure he would be involved in that. I don't know who else would be in that deal. Probably Sproat or Tong. We'd probably have to trade even more if we're packaging.
Would you give up Tong in that deal?
That's a good one. I would say I would not. I think with
so you hold like Jonah Tong in a high.
Yeah, I would only trade Jonah Tong if it meant getting Skubal.
Okay.
That's because I think Jonah Tong, he's going to start the season in the minors. I don't see him cracking the rotation. I think it would be a mistake if he does, no matter how good his spring training is. But I think by mid-July, he could be the way McLean was a force at the end of the season. I could see Tong being the same way next year. Like his upside is just so hard to pass up. Or so hard to give away, I should say. I just think he needed more seasoning. He got rushed up too quickly based on need, but I wouldn't give up Jonah Tong unless we were getting back Skubal. But with Peralta, especially, he's also another rental, which is why, that's why I'd be careful in trading for him, especially if we're also packaging McGill in that trade as well, because then we're going to be giving up more. Yeah, it's tricky, especially because, you know what, relievers are just so volatile, where Trevor McGill looks good now. I mean, look at what happened with Devin Williams when he got traded to the Yankees. I would be careful about making that kind of a trade, to be honest. But if it meant just trading Peralta separately, I think I'd feel a little more comfortable because I don't think we'd be giving up that much.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, Top. What do you think about a trade with Freddie Peralta and Trevor McGill?
I mean, if you could probably just get a Freddie Peralta, I think that would be a little bit better. I'm not saying that Trevor McGill is not good, but I think the asking price would be a lot higher if you involve a Trevor McGill in a trade, where I think it'd be just a little bit. I think it would be just worth it getting that frontline starter. You also look at it from a standpoint of, if you do get Trevor McGill, then that's your setup man for Devin Williams. It's just tricky right now because, from everything that I read, they seem to still be locked in on Robert Suarez and Pete Fairbanks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, if you pivot to a Pete Fairbanks, he's going to be the setup man to Devin Williams. And it's going to, and then Robert Suarez, comes into the picture. He might be the closer and Devin Williams might be a setup man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they have options there. If they want to address that, to where I think, if they go to Milwaukee and be like, listen, what do you want for just Peralta himself?
Yeah.
And see what your options are there, then, I'm most likely, he's not an ace per se, but they need a frontline starter right now, and I think he'd be the best fit.
Is there any other starter that's kind of like that we haven't like discussed, like a Joe Ryan, Scooble, some like? Is there any other starter that maybe you could see available, or the Mets could be interested in a trade that maybe hasn't been talked about?
That really hasn't been talked about. I would, ooh, I don't know, man, because you took Scuba would probably be my best one, but like
Yeah,
like I said, I think with Scuba would probably be better to just kind of wait. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Because if you're the Mets, you have all these prospects, right? And you put it in a Scuba, now obviously people are like, listen, you got to trade your prospects now if you're not going to do nothing. But what if after you trade him, you trade your prospects and you trade for him, he doesn't necessarily come back? You don't want to deal. You don't want to deal with that notion, because then it puts more pressure because you're the one that traded for him, and then you basically just you lost him for what? Where you could go now get a frontline starter, then go try to sign the guy next year, where you're not giving anything up to in return to get him.
yeah. That's the scary part, honestly. Like if you trade for a Scooble, you give up prospects, and then he doesn't want to sign an extension, or he doesn't, or he goes to free agency, and you try to sign him, you try your best,
Right.
and you don't get him. It's like, damn, that sucks because you traded away some prospects that could have helped you, like a Jonah Tong, like a Jet Williams. These guys. I think Jet Williams is becoming, like, I don't know if it's the word expendable, but he's becoming like he's a prospect now that is blocked. So I mean, let's start with you. I mean, Dan, do you think Jet Williams is going to be traded? Do you see a fit for Jet Williams as a Met anymore after this Marcus Semien trade?
I do, because I could definitely see Marcus Semien getting traded next year. I feel
Wow.
like you could just groom Jet Williams in the minors for about a season, like let him get some more seasoning down in AAA, and I would be inclined to, if Simeon's bat continues to decline like it has the last 2 years, I think you could either trade him or you could, release him. I feel like he'd be a lot more expendable with 2 years to go. So I definitely see Jet Williams still as the Mets' future second baseman.
Okay.
I feel like they're just going to take it slow with him. I could see him being possibly moved to the outfield if you put Benj in left and Williams in center.
But with his height, though, you think?
Yeah, his height. That could be an issue. And I think it would also be a question mark to have two rookies in the outfield.
Yeah.
Which is why I would probably just be a little more patient with him.
Okay.
I think Semien is more expendable than you think. That's where I think the benefit of trading for Semien is not just, like, we all know about how good he is defensively, but he's more flexible. It's more of a flexible contract as opposed to 5 years of Nimmo. It's going to be 3 of Semien, and if you just play out this season with him, try to move him next year, I think it's easier to move him with only 2 years to go. Which I think that will eventually clear a path for Jet Williams. And even if Semien does stick around, I think they could just put him as a utility guy. Like I would not,
Yeah.
I do not see Semien as a roadblock to Jet Williams. And if he does get traded, it will be for a Peralta. It would most definitely be for a Scooble. But to David's point, I'd rather hold on to the prospects when it comes to a Scooble trade and wait for him to be a free agent to sign him. Like the way we did with Soto, we didn't trade for him. We waited for him to become a free agent. We didn't have to give up anything.
Yeah.
I would do the same thing with Scooble.
Yeah, and you kind of shocked me a little bit with the trading Marcus Semien a little bit. I feel like Marcus Semien as a 36-year-old or 35-year-old, I think he's in their long-term plans until he's a free agent. Only because I feel like and like it's an interesting one, right? because I feel like the league kind of views him as like a past, right? I don't think Marcus Simeon is the 2021 Marcus Simeon that he was. And I think David Stearns is kind of looking at him that way in a sense. And I think he thinks that you can still provide something defensively. I just think they're trying to get away from Jeff McNeil. And there's to me, I took it as a message as Jeff, we don't really need you consistently like we did in the previous years. The Luis Angel Acuna thing is very weird because every time they bring him up here, he's, he'll 2 games he's in the lineup, and then the next week he's barely playing. They're only putting him out there for defensive purposes, and it's just like I don't see this kid ever getting better if you're not playing him consistently.
Yeah.
So I think with Acuna, I think they're sticking him to that where he could be a defensive purpose. But I think with Marcus Simeon is kind of like I think they see him for a couple more years before they put him in a trade. Because I just feel like the league doesn't view him as high as they once did a couple years ago.
I don't see Simeon as someone that a team would trade for because of his value offensively. But he's still basically he would still provide the defense and the leadership qualities that I think a team might if the Mets paid down some of that money, I think some team might still want him. Yeah, and as I said, if no team does trade for him, I think they could still buy him out and just straight up release him. They did that with Cano.
Right.
So I would not be surprised if Simeon's a one and done.
Yeah, that honestly be pretty interesting. They got a lot. They covered up a lot, especially at left field. Left field, man. Trading Nimmo shocked the hell out of me. I thought Nimmo was a Stearns guy in a way. I thought Stearns was gonna keep Nimmo, but I understood why they did it. It was smart. They not only shed a lot of money out of that payroll, but what they also did was get better defensively at left field. Now, who plays that left field is the question. Obviously Carson Benja's name has been thrown in there. But the options to go get a left fielder, unless you're gonna go get a Cody Bellinger, I think they're limited to that, in my opinion.
Yeah, which is interesting. The Cody Bellinger name is interesting. Like, how do you guys feel about Cody Bellinger?
I think he's versatile. I think he provides a lot, especially from the left side of the plate. I think he's solid for his age. I know he's had a little bit of a injury history, but I think that's the best move he could pivot to if P doesn't come back.
He's a good fit defensively. I still worry about his bat. He just strikes me as someone that would be a Stearns guy because of his versatility. But I think a lot of his numbers were a product of playing in Yankee Stadium. I didn't see much consistency with the offense, and it would be an upgrade over Nimmo and left, but I still think if we're planning on if they're doing what I expect them to do, which is break up this core, and Nimmo's gone and Alonso's gone, and that's like almost 200 RBIs of offense that you got to replace. I don't know if Bellinger's the right guy to fill that from an offensive standpoint. Maybe he'll benefit batting behind Soto the way Alonso did. That's 2 lefties back to back, so that's not exactly the greatest lineup construction. So he's an interesting fit. I think he's a better fit defensively than he is offensively.
Yeah. What about a Jared Duran, a Steven Kwan? Somebody are those like options that that you would consider?
Yeah, someone like Jaron Duran, I would consider. Again, I think the Met lineup needs to be a little more. It's too left-handed heavy, and they could use a right-handed bat, especially someone like Duran who's really athletic. he can. I don't think he's a fit in, say, center field, but I'd feel good about him in left. Or, I mean, I'm of the camp of we need to move Soto to left, but I also think Duran profiles.
Oh
well
yeah,
there.
no. I think we need to move Soto to the left too.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think right field is just too big, too much ground to cover in Citi Field. But I could see Duran as a good fit in a corner. I haven't seen him play much right field. I would be all over a Tatis trade if that was ever presented, though. Like, to me, that would be probably the best way to respond to losing Alonso and Diaz. If somehow we pulled off a trade for Tatis Jr., that a right-handed power bat that can play right field is exactly what we need.
And that's the thing about the Padres. I mean, apparently they're listening on a lot of offers, or they're listening on offers for Cronenworth, for Nick Pivetta. So maybe Fernando Tatis Jr. could be available. And if that happens, that would be really wild. I mean, we're already seeing that Ketel Marte is available. And it's funny because, us in Queens baseball, we were talking about Ketel Marte for probably a month and a half or something like that. And then we heard that he was available. And it's like, that's a guy that could have been an awesome fit for the New York Mets, I believe, if it wasn't for this Marcus Semien trade. And now apparently Boston is involved, and with this Ketel Marte, Phillies is involved. It sucks as a Met fan to see that. I don't want the Phillies to get him. Boston, I wouldn't hate if they get him because I like Boston. My dad is a Boston fan, so wouldn't hate it. But definitely the Mets just got to figure out what lane they're gonna go in, who they're gonna get, because they have to get so many people. They just this is more targets that you have to get now. You lose Diaz, it just puts more pressure that you got to make a move. And I don't know if the Mets are gonna make a move this winter meetings. Maybe not. Apparently, Andy Martino said he doesn't see a domino falling. So, in the near time right now, especially with this winter meeting stuff. So I don't know what David Stearns is doing. I don't know if he's just taking his kids to Disneyland or whatever it is. I don't know what's going on. But he said, David Stearns needs to wake up.
Meetings is in Orlando. All right, kids. Look, I'm gonna take you to Disneyland. We just gotta make a couple pit stops. I'm gonna make a couple moves just to show the fan base that I'm tuned in, even though I'm not. That means get rid of our closer. First baseman's probably gone. Go get a closer so that way I can replace one with the other. In all actuality, let me open the book of scraps from the New York Yankees and continue my role of picking up their number twos. So.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he goes after Luke Weaver. I would not be surprised if he goes after Luke Weaver.
But to me, it feels like they're in a Michael King. I feel like the Michael King just makes sense for them because that's how they're feeling.
Michael King. Yeah. My fear with Michael King is that they're going to offer him a 3-year deal, and another team is going to offer him a 4-year deal, and the other team is going to get him. That's my fear. That's my fear with the Michael King situation. And also, I like Michael King. I think the fact that it's funny how desperate the Mets are for pitching. And that's the thing. They're desperate. They need pitching. Because Jonah Tong is probably going to start the year in AAA. Brandon Sproul, I don't know where he's going to start the year. Either he's going to start the year on the team or maybe in the rotation. But what happens with Senga? Apparently David Peterson is on the block. Let's get to that. Then, How do you feel about the news about David Peterson being on the trading block? I found that very interesting.
I found it interesting too. I'm also encouraged by that. I don't think Peterson can last a full season. He was great in the second half of 24. He was great in the first half of 25. And then he was awful at the end of the second half. I want to see a starter that can just give me a full season. And I don't know if Peterson's anything more than a back-end starter. And that's the reason I'd rather keep someone like Senga, who you can put in the back of the rotation, and maybe if he's healthy, he becomes the top of the rotation starter. Where Peterson, I feel like this is who he is. And we have to do better, Randy. Like you said, we need pitching. And we have too many number 4, number 5s. Like at this point, that's what Brandon Sproat is. He's a back-end starter. We need more guys who can be at the front of the rotation. That we don't have enough.
Do you feel like there's potential for Brandon Sproat to be like a number 3 starter? Or even a number 2
absolutely.
At some point?
I mean, the potential's there. I don't know.
Because this was a prospect that was kind of highly coveted, right? I mean, this was a prospect that was apparently.
Yeah, he was highly coveted, and he also was pitched really well in the minors last year.
In the Garrett Crochet deal, maybe. So I think that there's some promise with Brandon Sproat.
Absolutely. He's a guy that was a top 10 prospect, and he was awesome in the middle of the season last year. He had like this unbelievable streak, I want to say, in AAA. And I think if he's more consistent, I think he could be more of a 2 or 3 starter. I don't know if he'll ever be an ace, but yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to unlock the best of Brandon Sproat, but listen, Mets drafted him twice, so they think really highly of him.
They did draft him twice.
They did draft him twice.
That was different regimes? Was that different?
Yes, different regimes. Yes, I believe 23 was with Epler.
Yeah.
Yes, Epler's final year. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the next year it might have been with Stearns. I'd have to look it up, but I thought Sproat was drafted in 24. Or maybe I'm getting my years mixed up, but I'm pretty sure it was an Epler draft when he took Sproat a second time.
Tom, what do you think about David Peterson and a trade involved him on the trading block? We didn't see him. I don't think we saw his name on the Stearns 6 or whatever, the list that came out with Jeff Passan. So, I mean, what do you think about this? This is kind of interesting, right?
It goes back to what I said in terms of them possibly having to move him or Senga to go get maybe like a Freddie Peralta, for example. You put in a lefty who really doesn't cost much. Yes, he's a veteran, but if you're Minnesota, Milwaukee, excuse me. You're looking at it from a factor of, he pitches well in that stadium. Another lefty in that rotation. Why not with the bunch of young arms that they have? A guy that could shove, a guy that could give you innings. He's an innings eater. Why not? You know what I'm saying? Especially if they're actually trying to move Peralta, and the Mets have one of the highest farms in the MLB. Why not use them as the number 1 option? You know what I'm saying? So I would see him actually getting traded. Specifically to Milwaukee. I just think Milwaukee's going to ask a little bit, less than what Minnesota would be asking for Joe Ryan.
Interesting. What is the trust level in David Stearns right now? I'll start with you, Dan. What is your trust level? How do you feel about this guy, David Stearns, and going into 2026? And how did you feel about the previous 2 years with David Stearns?
Right now, Randy,
Previous year.
yeah, well, the previous year I felt good. I was hoping Stearns would build off of 24 success. He made so many great under the radar moves his first year that worked out. But the way he handled the pitching staff, he just, giving Minaya and Montas these multi-year deals. He was gambling once again on reclamation projects, and it didn't work. And then he had this horrible trade deadline. And now to lose the best closer in baseball to a team that's going to, in the Dodgers, who's going to just be in our way for as long as they're going to try to contend, it's sickening. And my confidence level now is really low. I don't know how he could. I mean,
if you could put it like in a scale, like a 1 through 10, how do you feel?
I would put it at a 3. It's pretty low.
Wow.
Yeah, I still feel like
did it get lower today?
Yes, it did. It was probably a 5 before, and I would say now it's a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10.
I want Stearns.
It hurts. Yeah. Well, I don't think he's going anywhere for a while, but
yeah.
I mean, this
-4 from John.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I think he's got to realize to play in the free agent pool, you gotta learn to be uncomfortable. And he's still in this mode that he's in Milwaukee. He's still operating with a small budget. He's clearly got a plan where he wants to make over this team. He probably seen how poorly this roster has done for the last 5 years, or not meeting expectations for most of those seasons, besides 24. And he's going to obviously try to make it remake this roster, but I don't see how he's going to do it if he's not going to be more aggressive. He's clearly wants to build a more sustainable team by having a better farm system, and it's there. But I feel like he's asking a lot from a lot of these young kids to be productive. He's putting a lot of pressure on a lot of unknowns. So I don't feel good about it.
I just also think he's not looking at it from a perspective of you sign Juan Soto, and you signing Juan Soto is your message. It basically is a message to your fan base of saying, "Hey guys, we're going all in." Why put your kids in that predicament when they still need time to develop? Why would you want them to develop on a winning season? You know what I'm saying? Because that just adds pressure to their development and their confidence when they have to perform in a situation where you don't, you got to give them time to get over that pressure and build their confidence year after year after year to live up to the potential that they have. So I don't know. I just feel like he's going about this the wrong way, in terms of always trying to rely on the younger kids. Obviously, one panned out so far, Nolan McLean, and so far, you still got to work on Jonah Tong in a sense. Obviously, Brandon Sproat gave you something. Still trying to see what's there with him. But yeah, I just feel like he has a small market mentality that he just doesn't. He just won't let go, and that could be something that could hurt him at the end of the day.
No, I mean, you're right. You're definitely right. It could be something that could hurt him. The only really good 2 things David Stearns did in 2025. Well, this is not counting the trade deadline, because I don't want to. Before the trade deadline is get Brooks Raley and get Clay Holmes. And Clay Holmes had a really good season. He finished 9th in ERA. He gave some innings, and it's going to be very interesting to see what he does in his second year. Very, very interesting, because I'm like, I thought I think that with Clay Holmes, he has so much movement that it's a little too much movement at times, and he walks so many guys. Sometimes I think he doesn't know where the ball is going. And that is concerning. And the walks are very concerning. He has to fix that. He has to. He was good, but if he fixes those walks, he could even be even better. But there's no telling what he could do in 2026. He could have a worse year. He could have a better year. It's going to be very interesting to see. The last thing, guys, I want to get 2 predictions from you guys each, and I guess I'll say a prediction as well. So 1 prediction each for you guys in the next before Christmas. Who do you think that they're going to sign or trade for? I'll start with you, Dan.
I'm going to predict a trade for Freddie Peralta, and they'll sign Michael King. I still maintain that.
Okay. You gave me 2, but I appreciate it. Oh, good. Appreciate it. All right. Okay. Go ahead, Todd.
I think they go after Michael King. I'm actually on the same boat as Dan. I think they do both of those, but I think the first one, I think it seems like they're a little bit closer. I think they go after Michael King.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, but like I don't want to say the same thing. So
just say that they're going to sign Imai, just to be different.
No, I don't think that they are.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that they are. I say that they trade for Joe Ryan.
So I would love to see that. I'd love to see that.
I'm only saying that because I just don't. I feel like Minnesota's trying to hang on to him, and I don't see Stearns. You know what it is? I don't see Stearns looking at Jonathan and being like, "Yeah, I think he's worth it." I think he sees something in Jonathan. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I completely understand. I think it'll be interesting to see if it happens. Appreciate you guys, man. Coming out to the stream. You know, you could say your stuff, Top, if you want, your final thoughts, and then we'll go to Dan and stuff.
Well, you know, most of you guys that watch Randy stuff, you guys know me already. You guys can follow me at Top Bunk Sports on X, Instagram, TikTok, and go subscribe to the Top Bunk Sports YouTube channel. Yeah, man, listen, not a great day for Mets land. We still lost one of our premier closer, fan favorite in Edwin Diaz. I am not all the way crashing out yet. Again, this guy is here for a reason. So as upset as I am with him, it's not all the way his fault. Edwin Diaz did not want to be here. So he pivoted. And at the end of the day, you know, whether it's miscommunication or not, we have to trust in Devin Williams. And who knows? We go into the season thinking Devin Williams may not be the best option, and then he ends up shoving, and we may not go back to the conversation of Edwin Diaz. So, you know, we just got to wait and see how this thing pans out. But, yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting couple of days to see what their next move is. But, yeah, I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man. Dan, what's your final thoughts?
My final thought is the life of a Met fan, at least for me, is just pain. And today is no different.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid there's going to be more pain to come. I feel like I still believe deep down Alonso's going to leave, and that's going to hurt even more. And I'm sure Stearns has a plan. I don't know what it is. And I hope that it goes well. But I just don't see how he's going to replace that kind of production. It's just, yeah. I get what he's trying to do. He wants to remake this roster because it has not worked. I don't see many improvement. I don't see where he's going to improve, but just going to have to hope and pray.
No, I see exactly what you're saying. I say my final thoughts, man. Oh, today was a tough day. Today was a really, really tough day to be a Met fan. And I think it's only going to get scarier. and I think it's concerning. I think this guy, David Stearns. He might be a small market GM in a big market, and it's horrible to say that. But if he's not gonna give a guy more than a 3-year deal, I don't think that he's signing really anybody. Um, and I don't know what he's gonna do. I think that they have to use their trade pieces to get the pieces that they want. If you want to trade, that we heard something need for need with David Peterson. You want to trade David Peterson for a starting pitcher? Cool, do that. You really gotta fix this team, work this out, make this a contender. This can't be a transitional year for the Mets. We've heard David Stearns today on Hot Stove talk about, we have a lot of work to do, and there needs to be there's a lot of work to do, and they need to. At the end of the day, they're gonna. I forgot exactly what he said. We're gonna be okay, or we're gonna be happy with what we got going into opening day or something. I don't know what the hell we're gonna have. I don't know who we're gonna get, but I'm honestly scared. I am scared as a Met fan, and I'm getting more negative and negative these days. And this today made me just feel really, really bad as a Met fan. The Diaz thing killed me in the beginning, but then I heard the news. I heard that he didn't come back to the Mets to match it. So it is what it is. He wanted to leave. And yeah, I just think it sucks. But I think if you get a Robert Suarez, we'll be fine. We will be fine. I think Robert Suarez is really good, and I think Devin Williams is really good too. He just had an off year. But you can't make up 1 point something ERAs year after year after year for Devin Williams and then go to a 4-point ERA. I get it. It's a different market, but I just don't. I don't think Devin Williams is this bum that people think he is. But we'll see what the Mets do. They better do something. Hopefully soon, because if they don't, Met fans are just gonna keep waiting, complaining, and it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough in these Twitter spaces, on social media, and everything, man. But appreciate you guys coming to the stream. You can follow me here on YouTube, Randy Talks Mets. You can follow me on Twitter, Randy Talks Mets. On TikTok as well. I need to do more uploads there, but definitely you can follow me on there. And yeah, man, I wish we were coming at you with some better news, but there ain't no better news today. So everybody enjoy your night, and let's go Mets.